talk about the difference between divs and spans. So basically, first you have to understand the difference between blocks and inline. A block is something like H1, something that makes a new line, like H1, paragraph, UL, things that make a new line. Spans are things that don't, like a link, anchor tag, image tag, just bolding something, bolding tag, things that don't. Those are things that just don't make a new line. They don't start a block of code. So it's block versus inline. Now, what if you wanted to just make some random word bold, um, but you wanted to give it a class and not just bold, you wanted to do a bunch of things to it and in the CSS. So you can just throw in a random span tag, and the div tag is for if you wanted to throw in a random block. So here I want to call, let's say, this whole div, this whole section main, because I want something in to happen to this, which I'll show you in the CSS. So I could randomly just throw in a div anywhere I want. And here I have this block of a block of code that I'm calling main. So here I have div ID main, and in this case I'm saying every time you have the ID main, the pound main, I want the width to be 300 pixels and I want there to be padding. And every time I hear this is my ID on a paragraph, but I'm calling only this paragraph copyright. The copyright one I want to be smaller, so I have the font size to be 75%, and it should be aligned to the right. Base color, where's base color? And here it's also a class base color. Base color is just setting it to red. And this class could be used in other places as well. And I think it is. It's used here for the H1 heading, and it's also used in the paragraph. So I want both of these to be red. I want this to be copyrighted. I want it to be small, and in the right side, I want this div. I want to make this section. And what do I want to happen to the section? I want the ID. I want it to be, what did we specify for main? We want it to just have different pen. We'll change this and see what happens if we don't. So let's refresh. So here's how it looks. So what would happen if I didn't have this? Well, let's find out. What if here? Let's change it to 50. See what happens to the picture. You can see now it's 50 pixels the width instead of 300. So let's go back. With 300, what happens if we didn't have padding? Let's find out. 0. Does that look the same? Let's try it again. Okay, you can see it added padding. Here, I'll make it more obvious to you. Let's do it again. Here, you can see this padding around it now. There's padding all around it. And we'll talk more about padding in a different video actually, that's the next week. Or is it the week after? Box model. Then we'll talk more about what padding is. But here you can see that we're changing the entire div, the whole main, which is the div here. So that's what the div is. The span is if you wanted to change. All right, let's say I wanted this word to be bolded and smaller. So then I'm going to do span class equals, what should we call it? Small. So just like we had the div, we can put it wherever we want. I can do this. And I could just, now I can go into the CSS and specify whatever I want with this class small. If I call it small, I want to make the color green, and I want to make the font size 75%. All right, let's see what happens. Did I save this? No. Now you can see, okay, is that green? I guess it's green. It's hard to tell, but it's green and it's smaller. If you want to make it obvious, let's make it bigger, 150%. Definitely green. Okay, so you can see span and divs can be, they kind of don't have a tag name. They are the tag. They could just be used anytime you want inline and you don't want a new line or break. You just want to put this, or anytime you want a div, you can put a div. It kind of makes sections. Anytime you want a new section, a new block of code, you can use a div. But if it's not a paragraph, it's just your own div, you can do that as well. And then the CSS, you can set the div by giving it an ID or class, and the same thing for spans. You can give it classes, IDs, just like any other tag.